Okay. Okay, it is already recording, I think.
'Tis recording, yeah. It says in the top.
Oh, okay. Well, hello. Oh no, you gotta say the song. You gotta do the intro song.
Oh, do I?
Yes.
I already forget what it is. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. I was just trying to avoid it. What's that in the sky? You were supposed to.
Yeah.
No. We have to do that again.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
No,
Welcome to
we have
Manta Rays in the Sky, everybody.
No, that's so unfair. You just completely skipped out on your part of that intro song. We have to do it again.
I mean, it happens. So
No.
actually, so that was so that's something I think we talked about at the beginning last time.
Thank you so much, Giovanni.
All right, that's yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Was the idea of manta rays being able to fly.
Yeah.
And recently we've learned that that's actually true.
They can fly.
Yeah,
they can flap their wings.
Yeah, like if you just Google or on YouTube search manta rays flying, there's actually a ton of footage of just manta rays coming up out of the water and just hovering in the air for a bit, like flapping their wings. So
it was absolutely magical.
Gnarly.
When you sent that video to me, it blew my mind.
So it's not just a conspiracy theory that manta rays can fly.
Yeah.
However, this whole episode is devoted to conspiracy theories.
Wow.
So I got a question for you, Sarah.
Yeah. Sarah, yeah.
Yeah.
My name's Sarah today.
Of course. What is your favorite conspiracy theory?
Oh, my favorite conspiracy theory? There are so many. I think probably that's actually pretty difficult. I think throughout my life I've liked to believe in like aliens or UFOs, or like maybe the Bermuda Triangle. I think that was like the first one that I learned about. I think that one's really interesting as well. I don't know how much merit they hold. I don't really I haven't really seen that much like solidified proof that I think is like reliable, but I think that they're really interesting to think about.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I definitely grew up in a household where there was a lot of conspiracy theories being thrown around. Like,
yeah,
like
me
some
too.
of the famous ones, like the moon landing and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
but anyways, something when I was really young, I thought it would be really funny to just start making up my own conspiracy theories.
Obviously.
And just start spreading them to see how big they could go.
Yeah.
And there was one of them, I distinctly remember sitting with my sister and we came up with this idea just because it was really random. But then and I kept with that for up until now. So like 10 years later, I still try and tell people it's conspiracy theory. But I've learned very recently, I think it actually already was a conspiracy theory. I think people already believe that Manitoba does not exist.
Yeah. And honestly, it's super weird because I hadn't heard that before I met you, but I mean, for me, it was you that introduced me to it. And then I talked to my friends about it and I told like as many of them as I could about it because I wanted to see their reaction. And a lot of them actually kind of support it or think that there's...
because it's something, because like when you think of like different areas in Canada, like you can picture them. Like when you think about out west, like you can picture the mountains. When you think of Saskatchewan, the flat prairies.
Yeah, it's a pancake.
When you think of Ontario, like the big cities.
Mm-hmm.
Quebec,
Maritimes
the French
is like
stuff.
Yeah,
you can picture the Maritimes. But when you say Manitoba, nobody really has any image in their head.
It's just bears, mostly.
Yeah, exactly. Like the only time you ever hear stuff about Manitoba is, oh, polar bear attack, oh, serial killer, which just seems a little suspicious that they're trying to deter people from Manitoba.
Yeah, it's definitely like a secret,
and that was the thing as well. Like I remember if you Google the word Manitoba, like if you go on Google Images and type Manitoba, you will only see pictures of maps. That's
That
it. That
is
is the
true.
only image that pops, is just a map of Canada
I
with
think
the
maybe
outline.
I've seen like a couple signs of Manitoba and stuff, but it's all like very blatant, like Manitoba exists. See, this is a
Yeah.
sign that says
And
Manitoba exists. It's nothing like actually tangible.
yeah, and something like you, like what I find so interesting is when you're talking to people and you start going like, "Oh yeah, by the way, Manitoba doesn't exist," and they're just kind of like, "Oh, like oh, like of course it does," and then you start like saying stuff, and then they're like, "Oh, yeah, maybe it doesn't. I don't know." Like
Yeah.
I remember I met somebody like my first year in university who drove here, so in Ontario, from Saskatchewan.
Mhm.
And so I said something along the lines of like, "Oh yeah, like do you believe in Manitoba?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, like I've seen Manitoba." I'm like, "But have you? Like do you actually remember driving through Manitoba?" And he's like, "Well, actually, I don't know. Like it's not that clear." I'm like, "Exactly. You hit the Saskatchewan Ontario border."
Yeah, something really scary that I recently learned. My friend flew out to Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, last summer, and she, on her way back, she landed in Winnipeg, right? And
Yeah.
and I remember that she said that the airport there, like she left and there was literally nothing around it. Like there was
Yeah, no, I know.
literally nothing
Yeah,
notable at all whatsoever. And she had like a couple hours of layover. So she was there for a while, but she said nothing about the province, like absolutely nothing. And it was just really strange to me,
yeah,
like
I
there's
know.
no
Like,
absolutely nothing that she could comment on.
yeah, like I had a like when I was young, when I was growing up, like a lot of my immediate family lived out west, like in Vancouver. So
Mm-hmm.
they flew like Vancouver to Toronto a lot, and yeah, I remember some people saying like, "Oh, like I fly over it all the time. Like obviously Manitoba exists." I'm like, "Really? Have you ever looked outside the plane window and seen anything?" And they're like, "Well, no." And I'm like, "Exactly. Like, what do you mean?"
Yeah, like it
Um,
doesn't exist.
yeah, no, I last summer I tree planted with someone who claimed to be from Winnipeg, and it was funny because I actually like he was a really nice guy, so I'm like, oh, that's unfortunate that he's a liar, but
Mm-hmm.
but it was just interesting because I brought it up to him. I'm like, oh, like you say you're from Manitoba, and he's like, oh yeah, I'm from Winnipeg. I'm like, but Manitoba doesn't exist, and he's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, it's not real. Like Manitoba doesn't exist. Like I don't know if there's some government stuff going on there, or if it's
Mm-hmm.
just people are dumb and they don't realize like, oh, this is an extra province.
It's
But
fake.
but yeah, and as soon as I said, he just kind of accepted it. He's like, actually, now that you say it, I don't really remember. Like as soon as I'm out, as soon as I'm here in Ontario, like I don't really remember like much of Manitoba. I'm like, okay, and you've spent 23 years there, and you're saying you don't remember it as soon as you're out? Yeah, okay, something creepy isn't going on there.
Yeah, no, it's definitely like a secret government base or some sort of strange testing going on there.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know, something. Okay,
something.
well, last thing I have to say about Manitoba is my roommate works for Bell. He does like the I don't know, phone support stuff. So like
Mhm.
when people are having trouble with their TV, like they'll call him, and like he does like yeah, like he helps people over the phone. Uh but and anyways, his specific like building, like the branch that he works at only deals with calls in Manitoba. And it was
Okay.
funny because I said that to him. I'm like, "Oh, Manitoba isn't real, right?" And he absolutely freaked out. He's like, "Oh my God, what do you mean?" And I'm like, "Yeah, Manitoba's not real." He's like, "I was just saying this to somebody. Like, I don't believe in Manitoba," because he was going off about how literally all of his phone calls for like the tech support stuff is the exact same conversation, like day in, day out. Like
Mhm.
he like you have like your 9 hour, 8 hour workday or whatever, and like he'll talk to somebody like for 10 minutes, like every hour, every 2 hours, and it's the exact same conversation. Like they say word for word the same thing, but it's different people. And
Yeah.
and I guess he was like talking about it with one of his friends and was like, I don't even know if Manitoba's real. Like this seems so weird. And then as soon as I brought that up to him, like he was a full-fledged believer. He's like, yep, Manitoba's unreal. So
Yeah.
so this whole idea may have just started with me and my sister trying to troll people. But I think we actually like discovered something. Like
No,
maybe
you
Manitoba
fully
isn't
did.
real. Yeah, I'm like, who
It's one
knows?
of those conspiracy theories where the more that I learn about it and the more that I ask people about it, the more believable it becomes. And that's
Exactly, like that's the
super
thing. Like
rare.
it just
I
started off as a joke, but so many people just accept it. That's what gets me thinking. I'm like, okay, maybe there is something suspicious going on here.
yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Um yeah, okay. I kind of want to talk about our reptilian overlords next.
Oh, reptilian over. I actually had
Mhm.
that written down next as well. Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's not a sign or anything
If you see
from
my
the
eyes change
overlords.
color, don't be concerned.
Yeah, well, there's a reason we're not showing our faces on this.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually something that I got into like a fair bit ago. Like I watch a lot of videos about the reptilian overlords. So,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah,
was
me
just
too.
talking. Yeah.
My mom was absolutely obsessed with it. She would like call me over from the next room and be like, Carmen, you have to see this. Come here. This is George Bush's eyes changing color or some shit like that. And I'd be
Oh,
like, oh my God.
okay, one of those. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, did
Yeah.
you see did you do one of those like online quizzes that it's like a personality test, but it tells you like what like type of reptilian you are?
Oh, I think so. I don't remember what I got, but I think
Yeah,
I did that.
yeah. I don't I don't remember the name because there's like a full hierarchy of the reptilians. Like there's this like I from what I recall, the like the top of the reptilian hierarchy is the winged Draco, which is
Oh,
like a 9 foot tall uh like albino like reptilian with wings. And
that's terrifying.
yeah, yeah, and what the person was saying um was that because they're asked, oh, like wouldn't somebody realize that they were talking to a 9 foot tall lizard? And apparently what it is that they vibrate the air around them
Yeah,
so
to
it makes
change
them look
the
like a human.
mm-hmm.
Yeah,
That's wow, crazy.
yeah, yeah. See,
I
now I
know.
don't know, like I've been studying physics for like the past 3 years. I haven't come across that yet. I'm not discrediting it. Maybe that's possible.
Maybe.
But from everything that I've learned of like classical mechanics, I don't or optics, I don't really understand how vibrating the air can make you look like a human. But no, like that's pretty fun. That's
Yeah. I know the like main guy, he's like the face of this conspiracy theory is David Icke or Ike. I don't really
yeah,
know.
yeah.
Yeah, and he published like a good couple books on this, and apparently they're called the like Anunnaki or some, that's what the
Okay.
species is called. And I have like a a quote, but I don't think I can pull it up. That's fine. But like they're from I think he said Orion, Draco, and another constellation like cluster.
Okay.
Um, yeah, and they came thousands of years ago and started splicing their DNA
Yes, yes,
with
I
humans.
yeah, I did hear some because there are some people who are part reptilian, but they don't know it because they're like
Yeah.
crossbreeds. Yeah.
And yeah, and I think part of that like quote in his book that I was gonna read was, it said, there's a reason that our brains resemble like reptilian like
Yeah.
brain
Yeah. No,
structure, I guess. There's
that's
a reason that
you
there's
know,
parallels
there's
between the two.
yeah, like I don't know, like theory of evolution's got nothing on this.
Yeah.
But speaking of conspiracies, if humans evolved from monkeys, why are there still monkeys?
Oh,
That was
that's
one
a
I heard a
question.
lot. Yeah. That was one I heard a lot, but
That's quite a
yeah.
question.
But
Uh,
no, back with the reptilians, right? Because I'm pretty sure David Icke, like I think, because he was like a famous conspiracy theorist. Because I'm pretty sure he abandoned his idea to begin with of reptilians. Like I think he came up with other ideas and started like
yeah,
going for them instead.
he did a lot of
But
weird things in his
yeah,
books.
but but yeah, I know that is something that does appear in like a few like a. I remember reading about something like there was a cult somewhere in the U.S. where somebody got murdered over this.
Oh my
because
god.
yeah, because they're trying to like out the cults or something, and I don't know, they the leader turned the followers against this person that was trying to out them, saying like, oh, his wife is a reptilian vampire, and I don't know, somehow the guy got killed. It's weird, but
Oh my.
but yeah, because there's also something. It was an acronym, DUMS, deep,
Dumbs.
yeah, deep underground military bases, and
Ooh.
because they said, I think it was Eisenhower. Yeah, they said one of the presidents in the U.S. I'm pretty sure they said Eisenhower made a deal with these reptilians in order to get super advanced technology and in
Makes perfect sense.
exchange, yeah, and in exchange, the reptilians would be housed in these deep underground military bases, uh,
Huh.
and they would have control over the political sphere.
Sounds like a fair trade to me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know.
Um,
It's yeah, like how could you really argue with any of that stuff?
yeah. Yeah. I also read an article on how to identify them, and some of this stuff's really weird. So first of all, they have like green or hazel or blue eyes, and
Oh,
they
okay,
change
that's a
color.
check for me. That's a check for me. I'm pretty sure my eyes change color.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
then red or reddish hair.
Okay, okay. The
Um,
gingers, right?
yeah, the gingers obviously. Low blood pressure.
Oh, heck, that's
Um,
another check for me. Gosh darn.
damn. So keen sight or hearing.
Oh,
Um,
I'm out. I'm out. It's all good. It's all good. I can't.
um,
Okay. All
psychic powers.
right.
Uh,
I can just picture somebody with psychic powers like, oh my God, I can read people's minds. I can teleport.
I'm a fucking
Uh,
reptile.
and then just like Google searching, like, is it normal to move things with your mind? Like just trying to WebMD it and then discovering, oh my God, maybe I'm a reptile. I better keep this shut.
I love that. WebMD would definitely the first thing that they would say is reptile.
Well, that actually makes sense though. Like, why do you think you never hear of people with psychic powers? Oh, it's because they're so scared that they might be outed as reptilians.
Oh, that's true. Oh my god.
See that? From what I've learned of this is that the world would be a better place if we were just more inclusive.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's fine.
yeah.
Actually, I think reptilians like eat human brains or something.
Like the reptile people? Is that
Yeah,
oh, that's fine. Do they do that like that's what they eat, like
yeah. Like I think
solely?
that's their diet, which
So they're like
I also
zombies?
liked. I think I don't know. Like I also liked like still with the idea that there's some that don't realize they're reptile people. But it's like,
Mm-hmm.
how would you not realize that eating brains isn't normal?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I uh, I don't know, man. There's more though. There's
Oh yeah,
more
please,
things to
please.
identify them. We have to be aware, right? We have to be able
Oh
to
yeah, we
know.
have to. Like that's the whole point. We're spreading knowledge.
Hmm. So there's two more. So one is unknown or like plentiful scars of
Okay.
yeah
Yeah.
that you don't know where they came from, and the disruption of electronics.
Makes sense. Sorry,
Perfect sense.
boomers. Getting outed.
There were also other weird ones like alien contact and like an obsession with science and space.
Oh yeah, no, that
um
that would make sense. Them wanting to return home to Draco.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's crazy stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I think like what you're saying with how they spliced their DNA into our DNA. Um, I think that was something because like these really powerful. They're saying that like when they did this, these really powerful like hybrids, like half human, half reptile people, ruled the world. And they're saying that like all these ancient societies, with their like elaborate pantheons, that those were actually real. That like these were
Hmm.
just like instead of Zeus, like there's just some legitimate reptile person that had like the power of lightning or something.
Yeah, and I'm
And
sure there's some like very strange looking like cave or paintings or like ancient like artwork that resembles some reptilian like
yeah,
evil
yeah,
eye.
no, yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, those cave paintings, some of them can be pretty revealing.
Yeah, exactly.
but yeah, yeah, that kind of segues into another another conspiracy theory. Have you ever seen like the YouTube videos or whatnot of like how the ancient Egyptians had like superpowers and they were actually like super
Oh,
advanced and
yeah, and
whatnot?
then like the pyramids were like the pyramid, the like largest pyramid was designed to specially like so the sun would hit it at like a like certain angle to like communicate with aliens or some shit
Yeah,
like
something
that.
like that. I don't know. I just know there's like a lot of like stuff about how these ancient civilizations were actually like super advanced and they could like I don't
Hmm.
know, they had like psychic powers and stuff.
Yeah, and it's just like no one ever considered that they just used like a wheel. Yeah, I remember you said that to me. I thought that was funny.
Oh, that was the yeah, no, that was
Like
something else. That was
like just to build the pyramids.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
But
Um,
yeah.
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I think yeah, it's been many years, but I definitely hit that point where you know you get down the YouTube rabbit hole and you just keep going into the suggested videos, and the stuff just keeps getting weirder and weird, and everything's called documentaries,
Oh
which is my
yeah,
favorite.
obviously.
Yeah, like it's all just
It's
documentaries
like a
now.
home video of some like kid sitting on his couch, like randomly
Yeah.
spewing bullshit, but it's a documentary.
Yeah, no, I remember I saw one. It was this guy disproving Newton's laws of motion.
Oh my god.
It was something they had like a balloon like duct taped to like this wire and they let it go and they said, "Oh, you know, if this was actually I don't know, something about how like every action has an equal and opposite reaction. They're like, you know, if all the pressure is leaving the balloon, it should just go forward. But clearly, right here, given a straight path, it's not going forward. So that theory must be wrong.
Yeah.
You know, instead of just saying, "Oh, we duct taped it in one place," they're saying, "Yeah, look, the balloon doesn't actually move."
Oh my
So
god.
I don't know, because that's something you could very easily just test at home. Just fill up a balloon, let it go, and be like, "Oh, does it move or does it stay in one place?"
Yeah.
But yeah, so that one was fun.
Yeah, that's really good stuff. I feel like a lot of like just because it says documentary, like a lot of people will just label their film as a documentary, and so that automatically makes it credible.
Yeah, no,
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that, and then especially just I don't know. I feel like where people present things with confidence. That's the whole thing. Is like confidence is everything, right?
Mhm.
Like that's how I got like everyone to question if Manitoba was real. But so I feel like that's
Because you
like
sounded 100% certain.
yeah, so I feel like that's used in like I know that's definitely used with like cults and stuff. Like I feel like that's used with a lot of conspiracy theories. Is if when people like share like these complete fallacies just with confidence, they're like, oh yeah, Newton's laws of motion, those aren't real. like
It's
and
like you
then
kind of believe it, maybe, you
yeah,
know?
and then they whip out these flawed arguments, and then like when someone like I don't know, I guess like doesn't have very good deductive reasoning, they think, oh, like you know, they have arguments, they have good arguments, and then people just kind of fall for those beliefs. I don't know.
Hmm. It's super easy to become like completely consumed by some like one person's collection of information and not realize that they're actually just collecting information that specifically proves their argument correct without
But
taking into
even that, a lot of
consideration like
times, like it,
anything else.
yeah, a lot of times it doesn't prove any arguments. Like people will just like so many people like they don't follow like logical arguments. They just kind of do like very circular arguments, or
Hmm.
like they'll say things that are like completely unrelated to like their conclusion, and
But it's
and
supposed to somehow.
yeah, or when you make something, yeah, like you just keep spouting a bunch of facts, a bunch of things, and then you're like, oh, so like naturally we can deduce this even if there's no like change. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
yeah. it's like you just present a bunch of bullshit, and then you say, in conclusion, we can say this, and then you conclude it
Yeah,
based off of that evidence.
like that's the
So
thing.
there's proof.
I feel like so many people really misuse the word logical. Like I feel
Yeah.
like the average person like really confuses persuasive with logical. They'll think if something's persuasive, then oh, like these arguments are logical, it must be true. But I know, like for example, like some of the most like a lot of like the laws of deduction, like like I know like I studied it in like a mathematical perspective, but it's really interesting when you just break it down like element by element, like any argument, and break it down and see like, oh, does this naturally like follow from this? Is this a deductive argument? Is this an inductive argument? And now like logic isn't perfect, like there's a lot of flaws with human logic, but it's
Mm-hmm.
still like a really useful tool. Like I know, for example, like in deductive logic, one of the most classic like one of the most famous rules, modus ponens, it can be given with like a really simple example, which was just, oh, all men are mortal. Socrates is a man, therefore Socrates is mortal. And what makes that argument logical is the fact that it doesn't introduce anything new. It just rearranges the premises. Did we
Mm-hmm.
already talk about this? I feel like we talked about this last week.
Last time, probably, yes. It does sound familiar.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, I'm not getting super far into, but that's the whole thing is like just assuming premises to be true and then rearranging them, that makes something logical. That doesn't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily make something true either.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like so many people, because that's the whole thing with something to be logical. For something to be logical, is you still have to make assumptions. And so I don't know, like you can make like a fully logical argument for like why there are reptilian overlords, but that doesn't make it true. And
Yeah.
likewise, like I'm not trying to like discredit all these people, because who knows, maybe there are reptilian
Yeah,
overlords
and there's
controlling the
not
world.
like
Like
super valid proof to disprove this, right? So
yeah,
and
yeah.
so
So
we can easily speculate, and it's fun to speculate and theorize. Like it's an important part of like learning about the world, right? Is to theorize and like entertain these like very out of the box thoughts, you know?
yeah, yeah.
But like you said, it is also important to use logic and criticize the things and the information that you are given.
Yeah, like that's what I was saying. Like no, not even just logic, because again, like there's a lot of things that like there are a lot of flaws with human logic. But I think
Mm-hmm.
just realize that like logical arguments aren't always true as well, and persuasive arguments aren't always logic. So like just have that like that hierarchy, right? Like
Yeah.
be like something. Okay, this is like very clearly like these arguments don't support the conclusion at all. Like oh, we duct tape this balloon here, therefore Newton's laws are wrong.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, therefore the earth must be flat. Like those
Yeah.
aren't good steps to take.
Yeah.
But
Do you want to talk about your experiences with like flat earth documentaries? I know you've
okay.
watched a lot of those.
I did. I was very interested in flat earth documentaries for a hot minute.
I think
um,
like
like for what are you gonna say?
no. Go ahead. It's fine.
Okay, like just for me, like again, like I've studied math, I've studied physics for a hot minute. Uh, something is that what I noticed is that a lot of these flat earthers kept talking about math. They weren't showing any math, they weren't explaining math, but they kept referencing the word math. Like
Mm-hmm.
people kept saying, "Oh, the math works. The math makes sense. If the earth was flat, that still works with what we know." Now, personally, from like everything I know, like I've studied math like up until like the fourth year undergraduate level, as well as I've studied a lot of physics and whatnot. I can't really make, a useful model in which gravity still holds and all this stuff still holds if the earth is flat. So that's why I was really
Yeah.
intrigued. I'm like, okay, they keep saying that their mathematical models hold. I would like to see these models, just because
There's
I don't know,
none.
like I'm really good with math, but I found like nobody was talking about it at all. They just kept alluding to the math. So this is the thing is that's why I kept watching so many. I'm like, show me the math. Like I want to see this.
Mm-hmm.
But what I did
And they
find
use like amazing pieces of
exactly,
technology
and that's the
that
thing, because I feel like if people aren't super confident with their math abilities and whatnot, they don't want to ask those questions. They'll just think, oh, they say the math works, so I believe it.
yeah, for
but but
sure.
but what they did, like what they did show, which like caught me very off guard, because it was in so many of these, documentaries and air quotes, was that so many of these flat earths like arguments just randomly turned very anti-Semitic. Like at random times, like they just started going like, oh, like the Jewish people are lying to us, this is
Mhm.
which I think at that point, I think you really like, as soon as things start propagating hate, I think
Mhm.
you really know that there's something wrong with the merit of their argument, because that's something that we see in so many different things, whether it's like conspiracy theories or I don't know, like cult, or like a lot of times like political theories or political
It
doctrines.
it definitely says something about the way that those people think about the world, because
Yeah,
they automatically go to that like hateful and discriminatory and ignorant like way of looking at things. And so
yeah,
obviously
exactly.
it would be easier for them to justify something like a flat earth, even
Yeah, yeah.
even given all of the evidence that even they collect that proves that they're wrong.
Yeah, and like once again, like these things aren't related at all. But the big thing is just, it's a trend that you see a lot with people trying to impose ideologies, which is
Mhm.
definitely something we need to be really wary of, and we need to question about. Like bold underline, like always think like, okay, what is the agenda of this argument? Is this person just trying to impose an ideology? And like something a lot of these um things do, when people are just trying to impose their own beliefs, when people just want support, when they want fame or whatever, like whatever it be for, like if it's a conspiracy theory like for fun, or if it's a cult for a personal thing, or if it's like if they want political favor. uh, um we see a lot is blame, is that people
Yeah.
will blame either a group of people. So where like all these flat earthers went is like something that like a lot of time like the ultra right does as well, is they'll blame Jewish people or minority people. But we also see like other arguments with like like the lizard people, where they'll have the blame and all the hatred going towards like the government or
Yeah, because it
authority
is it
or
is easier to mistrust people that you don't know a lot about, that you're not
yeah,
personally
exactly.
connected to.
Yeah,
And
and a lot of times,
especially
yeah.
like celebrity or like people or things that you see in the media so often that are like
Yeah, that's
portrayed in
true.
this one certain way, it's so easy to.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. That's where. Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly it. Like when things are portrayed a certain way, like people start to get their own personal prejudices on these type of things,
Mhm.
like these groups or these institutions, or just I don't know, any type of abstract concept. And the whole thing that a lot of times people do is they exploit these prejudices.
Yeah.
They start pushing blame, and then that like that really reinforces closed-mindedness in the viewers and in the listeners to this, because then it starts to propagate that whole idea of, oh, there's nothing wrong with me, everything
Mhm.
that's wrong with the world, everything that's wrong with my life is these people's fault. and
Yeah.
then for some
And
and then for some reason, when people get in that mindset, they get very vulnerable and susceptible to suggestion, and then they start believing in these arguments, whether it's the flat earth or I don't know, voting for Trump or
yeah. No, you're
but
completely right. Like people crave a sense of power or authority, and so I think that they can maybe take better control of their life if they say, I'm not doing anything wrong, it is everybody else that's doing something
yeah,
wrong.
exactly. And that's the whole thing. Like that's something like we really need to be critical of. And when things do that, that's hard, because when that starts stroking your ego and starts stroking like the close-minded area of your brain, then you think not to question things. You think like,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a terrible way to be, because that is the very critical time when stuff like that is happening. You need to be, oh, I need to question this. I need to you know, like what is the merit? I need to open my mind, like I
Yeah,
don't.
and the only way that we can like truly discover anything about like ourselves, about other people, about the world that we live in is by being extremely critical and questioning everything that we see and are given, right?
Yeah, yeah, no, it's true. Like we, like I don't know, like don't like that's the whole thing is just moderation with everything as well, right? Because it's really important to question and be critical of stuff, but then you're kind of completely useless if you're questioning absolutely everything. You're like, is this
Yeah.
table real? Is this real? Because then it gets to a point where like there's a lot of stuff that it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
There are areas where it matters to question stuff, like especially when it's propagating some type of message or like something they want you to believe in. But then when it's, you know, just artificial, do we live in a simulation? Like there's no point in really questioning that, because then it's like, I don't know. I guess that kind of goes along with the whole
Well,
lizard people
it,
stuff.
it's yeah. I mean, I think it's like an important part of life to like I said before, to like speculate about everything, but you also have to take it with a grain of salt and realize that like even if it is true, there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah,
And even
exactly.
if it is true, it doesn't affect your life right now.
Yeah,
Like there's there's absolutely no way that you can change that you can like learn anything about it or prove it, so you can go ahead and believe what you will, but it in the end it doesn't really prove anything. It doesn't
yeah.
really do anything.
Well, yeah, I feel like some of it, like some of them have like agendas. So it's
Well,
like with
yeah.
the idea of, you know, like the whole thing is, if, for example, lizard people really do rule the world, that does kind of change things, because then that's like, okay,
I was thinking more
we
about like the
should.
simulation theory,
Yeah, oh
but
yeah,
like
that's
because
just, oh,
reptile
that's
people, that scares me genuinely,
yeah.
but
Yeah, no, I mean, like if we're in a turtle's dream in space, all right, life will go on. But
yeah, exactly.
like there's some of these where it's like, or you know, like a lot of the stuff like, oh, we're being lied to, we're being controlled. Uh
Yeah,
yeah, I don't know, like the
yeah.
simulation theory, like I don't really like that one, but just because like me personally, I've had a lot of experience with people that like adhere to that have just been really annoying to me.
Fair
I
enough,
don't know.
fair
Like
enough.
the biggest like argument that I heard that I really don't like is the whole, oh, well, you can't disprove it, so obviously it must be
That's
true.
not like logical at
Yeah, even
all.
that, that's
That's not.
just that's not an argument, because
Yeah.
you could just flip that. You could be like, okay, hey, the world isn't a simulation. You can't disprove it, therefore it must be true. Like
Yeah.
just that whole line of reasoning is so flawed. Like I don't know,
And the
like
truth
if
is
you
you can
believe in
never
that, that's
know for
fine.
sure.
Yeah, like
So,
if you believe in that, that's fine. But like I don't know, like some of these like the reasoning behind, because a lot of times like I don't know, I definitely hold beliefs about like things that are out there, but I fully recognize that, oh, these are just beliefs that a lot of times I don't have reasoning for. It just comes from like a
mhm.
place of like
Like
faith
you
or
cannot
whatever.
say that it is
But
truth, but
yeah, exactly, it's just, this is my truth, this is what I
mhm.
believe in, which
Exactly.
that might be true with the simulation theory. But I don't know, I think trying to like persuade people and trying to be like, oh well, you can't disprove it, so like come join us, like I don't know, that's uh
Yeah. That I think that's the big thing about a lot of these theories or these like ways of thinking that often kind of don't don't have like a way to be proven for sure, or like can't be disproven is just that. Yeah, actually I completely forget what my point was, so
Yeah, I don't know. Like, sorry, halfway through that sentence, I just kind of zoned out, started thinking about other stuff. Um,
thank you so
yeah,
much.
yeah, it's, you should be used to that by now.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah. Side note, moving on, I guess. Um, you know about chemtrails?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I actually learned about this like somewhat recently. Like, I didn't realize that was a huge thing. Like, I learned about it like a year ago. Uh,
Okay.
yeah, there's this guy who, again, he was just like he was someone that was really annoyed by these theories. That's something else that I find interesting. You ever know like some people get so hostile about this, like
Mhm.
about like the anti-conspiracy, like I don't know, especially with I find with the flat Earth thing, like like there are so many people that are so hostile against flat Earth. That's why I'm like, all right, like just chill, fam. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like I don't know if the Earth is flat. Who knows? Maybe it is. Like personally, I don't think it is. But some of
No,
these people going like,
probably
what do you
not.
mean? The Earth definitely isn't flat. You people are wrong. I don't know. Some people get so like, I don't understand that. I don't know. You got any
Yeah.
like psychological insight to like that?
To why people get so angry, I mean,
Yeah, like I don't really have any good guesses.
also because you said that a lot of the documentaries had like a lot of anti-Semitism. I think
Okay.
that probably ties into it, just
Yeah,
because
I feel like that's something though, like if people haven't actually like tried to like see like flat Earth videos on YouTube, like I feel like that's something that doesn't really go hand in hand in people's minds when they think of, oh, flat earthers, anti-Semites. Like I don't know, like
if they haven't watched those documentaries,
yeah,
yeah, and for sure the people that are criticizing them wouldn't want to watch those
yeah,
things. I mean, it's probably just um people thinking that they are so in the right. It's like it can
yeah,
be
yeah,
done in
yeah.
the
I guess
reverse, right?
yeah,
Some
fair.
people that conspire are so angry and aggressive about it because they know in their heart that they are right, and so I think that it's the reverse as well. Even if it might be the more
Yeah, people like
solidified
yeah
argument,
going
people
like the
still get
mainstream
just as
arguments.
aggressive,
Yeah, I
right?
think that's true. Yeah, yeah, I think you're right. I think that does come from like a place of like closed-mindedness
Yeah.
and ignorance as well. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, because with everything, like yeah, yeah, question everything, but still be open-minded to everything. Because you know
Yeah.
things like yeah,
And like we are sitting here saying that flat earth is like it's probably not flat. We both kind of disagree with most of their arguments, but
could be hexagonal. Who knows?
yeah, exactly. But it's also important to leave that open-ended uh like question and say, it might not be, maybe not, who knows,
Yeah,
and I think it's important to do that with every conspiracy theory, because otherwise there is that like war on either side.
yeah. And that's the whole thing. Is like as soon as you just get like into like the closed-minded arguments and you just start like just saying your own beliefs and just yelling them at each other, you're not changing anybody's mind. So like, what's the
Mm-hmm.
point? Like, you're just getting angry for the sake of getting angry. Like,
And obviously there you're not gonna, like, no one's going to listen to you yelling at them. No one is going to listen if you're coming from a place of anger and aggression. Like I've never once been yelled at and then afterwards been like, I think I needed that. Like I don't think I ever really learned that much from someone being angry. So I think that's just like a redundant way to get across your argument regardless.
yeah, like that's the thing. Like, if you're like actually confident in your arguments, like you would be getting so emotional and like,
Mm-hmm.
or like I guess not to that extent, but like you wouldn't like the whole thing is like there's a difference between acting and reacting.
Yeah.
Like when you just kind of like when you're not really in control of yourself and you're just reacting to like the stimuli. Like I don't know, I don't think anything really good comes from that, and I feel like a lot of times that's where like arguments and like really heated debates like turn into.
Yeah, for sure. And that's like when I was reading articles, I think it was about like the moon landing. A lot of people that were trying to debunk that conspiracy theory said, the population is reacting to something scary, saying that the government is lying to them. And that's really scary. And so you automatically react with being like, what if it is true, instead of taking a moment to sit back and think about the proof for and against.
Okay,
And
fair, fair.
yeah,
But
like level the
my question for you though is, do you believe in the moon landing?
well, I think that there is pretty interesting information on either side of that argument. I think something really interesting that I noticed is when I was looking up like stuff about the reptilian elite versus the moon landing, actually versus anything else. When I looked up the moon landing, it was just people debunking it. It was just saying why the moon landing is like not happening is the dumbest conspiracy theory ever, stuff like that. And even like the reptilian elite, which is like some people think it's so ridiculous, like a very very small portion of the population believe in that. it, like, the first results that popped up, even if they were satirical, never said, I don't believe in the reptilian elite. Like, they were all, like, saying information about the theory, and about the proof that's given whenever, like David Icke talks about it. And the moon landing was literally just, like, this,
Yeah.
like a BBC article saying that, like, the top 5 reasons why it actually happened. It was like Steven
Okay.
Kubrick saying, I didn't actually direct it, stuff like
Yeah,
that. And
I don't
every
know.
other
Like,
conspiracy theory just had proof.
yeah, like I definitely, like, I found the exact opposite of you. Like I've definitely seen like so many things like trying to argue against the moon landing. Like there are shows on Netflix. Like I know there's like a conspiracy show. Like I think that's like the first episode is like try to like all the arguments against like saying that the moon landing didn't happen. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. Like for me, something that's interesting. Like the first man to go in space was in 1961, and like it was like it was a USSR cosmonaut,
Mm-hmm.
and I think like the Russian program started in like 1953, so it took them like it took like 8 years to get up like into the like to get a man into space,
Mm-hmm.
and then I know the first American to go to space was in 1967, I want to
Mm-hmm.
say. So like it took America like a lot longer just to catch up to where Russia was.
Yeah.
And then 2 years later, like they said they went all the way to the moon, and it was like,
Well, they
live
did it as a
television
power move
broadcast.
solely to say, like, to one
Yeah,
up
like maybe it
Russia.
was a power move, or maybe it was just the fact that they're like, oh, we want to seem bigger, we want to seem better than Russia.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like, because I know there's also like conspiracy theories that like USSR missions have made it to the moon like before America, but
Mm-hmm.
they just didn't make it back. So they just
Yeah.
weren't talked about, because that's the other thing. Like, when you just, like, for me, just thinking of like pure probabilistically, like the whole idea of, sure, getting up to the moon, landing, like coming out, walking, television broadcasting the whole thing live, okay, sure, maybe that happened, but the probability of coming back like from the moon onto Earth, like first try, no fatalities, no accidents, like that's just, I don't know, like that's very improbable. I'm not saying it didn't happen, I'm not saying like
Yeah.
the moon landing was fake, I'm just saying that it was under really sketchy circumstances at the time.
Yeah.
Like,
So then you don't believe in any of these, like, the reasons why it didn't happen based on, like, the recording, like the fact that there was no stars, or that the flag was like waving in the wind and stuff,
no,
or
I
like,
don't know. I don't know, because that's the whole thing. Is like you can argue like why that stuff would happen like on the moon, or like the different stuff is just, for me, just the whole like political arena at the time, and just how far behind like the United States was just to
mm-hmm.
catch up like in 2 years. Like it took them 10 years to get a man into space, and it took them 2 years to go, just from the exosphere of the Earth all the way to the moon and back.
Yeah.
And then I know, like, for example, when Chris Hadfield, like I watched an interview with Chris Hadfield when he went to the International Space Station. Oh heck, when was this? Was this 2011, 2016? I don't know. It's somewhat like relatively recently.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was in the 21st century, and he was talking about like how like primitive so much of the technologies that were used there was. Like he had the first internet live stream from the space station,
Yeah.
and I don't know, like he improved like a lot of the technologies on the space station, and it's like, okay, and we're saying that in the 60s, like there was a full like live
Live
broadcast from the
broadcast.
moon.
Yeah.
It's, I don't know. I'm not getting into that, but I don't know.
So
This
you're saying
this
that,
is
like, they
all,
could have actually landed on the moon, but maybe not, the broadcast was faked or
yeah, like
something. Like,
I don't know. I'm not, that's all I gotta say
I
right
also have
now.
some other moon conspiracies that I think were really interesting.
All right, shoot.
So one was that the moon is actually an alien surveillance station.
Oh, okay, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and apparently there were pictures released that there's like structures on the moon, and like that there's like a big crater that's like a hole, like an entrance into the inside of it. Yeah, I think that was pretty interesting.
Pretty fun. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, it's pretty suspicious that we only see one side of the moon, right?
that's true. See, a lot of the like evidence for that was like there's stuff on the dark side of the moon. Like that was the big thing, was that there were structures on the dark side of the moon.
Yeah, no, it's not a centripetal acceleration thing. It's
Yeah.
that.
And then also that there was the moon is made of cheese. I really like that one,
Oh,
actually.
that's something my mom like would tell me like when I was really like that was something that like she was a very like big advocate on, that the moon was made out of cheese.
Yeah, I totally support that. I think that the moon, like, if it's not made of cheese, then it should be made of cheese.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that would be like what are you thinking, like actual cheese or like a cream cheese or like a cottage cheese?
Nah, like actual cheese, like a brick of like cheddar, maybe.
Okay, well, I mean the moon's clearly not made of cheddar. Like,
That's true. It would probably be like Swiss. That would make sense.
oh, that would make sense for all the craters.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, are we on to something?
I think so. Yeah. So moon's made of Swiss.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's good to know. I don't know about you. I think that's all I really have to say today. I think I
Yeah.
went over everything.
We're already done. I think something that I like want to finish on is just that this is all in good fun, and
Oh
like,
yeah, of course.
yeah, and and I saw a quote that I really like, is that nonsense wakes up the brain cells, and that's by Dr. Seuss. I thought that was really fun
I
because he does
really
a lot
like
of
that.
nonsense stuff, and so I think that a good
That is
theme,
so fun. I
yeah, a
really like that.
constant theme of like our conversations, I think, is just it's nonsense. We're all doing this in
Well,
good
yeah,
fun, and
look at the screen. We got manta rays flying up in the sky. Like that was the whole thing, right?
exactly.
It's just
So whether you believe in these conspiracies or not, nonsense wakes up your brain a little bit, so it's important to absorb and experience it, even if you don't believe in it, because sometimes it's just pretty fun.
I really like that. Yeah, no, I agree. It's fun to speculate on some of this type of stuff,
Yeah.
and make sure everyone to keep your minds open, like obviously question things, but don't like necessarily just like throw them out and discredit everything immediately. Maybe
Yeah.
Manitoba isn't real. Maybe the chemtrails are controlling our minds. Maybe
Maybe.
the lizards are vibrating the air. We don't know, but I really like
Crazy.
that quote. Yeah. Like, subscribe, share your favorite conspiracy theories in the
Yes,
comments,
please.
and
Oh, and we're going to have a Spotify soon, so keep an eye out for that.
okay, yeah, maybe we can't really
Maybe.
figure out that, but until then, I think I stopped